Arsenij, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Give us a sense of your initial response to this deal then.
You know, on the one hand, everyone is so happy, so cheered by this deal. And the good thing is that at least Ukraine will get a safe passage of 20 million tons of grain. And this is the way how to mitigate global food crisis. But let me focus on the root causes of this. Who actually weaponized grain, energy resources, gas, oil, everything in this world in his efforts to undermine the free world and actually to make everyone suffer? It's Putin. So we didn't fix the root cause of this. And the root cause is how to stop the war, how to win this war. So this is a temporary solution brokered by the UN, and I do commend at least some efforts of the United Nations to do something in order to save this world. But once again, in terms of economy, look, this deal covers only grain. But what should we do with coal, with steel, with metal, with iron ore, and the rest of the commodities that have to be shipped by with the safe passage on the Ukrainian territory in the Black Sea? As a temporary solution, maybe, well, that's good, definitely as a temporary one. But I don't trust any kind of deal signed with the Russian Federation. We had dozens of different deals, and they always violate them. And the biggest thing is that they violated the international order and the international law. The most important for me is how to bring to justice Putin and how to end this war and how to make Ukraine to win this war and how to reclaim all the territories that have been temporarily occupied by the Russian Federation.
And how optimistic are you currently about the hope of achieving all of those aims you just set out?
There is no other option, just no other option. Because I always say, look, we Ukrainians, we are fighting for our territory, for our independence, for our freedom. But it's more than about Ukraine. We are fighting for the entire free world. And I do really commend the efforts of the free world, of the United Kingdom, of the United States, of the European Union in supplying heavy weaponry to Ukraine, in supporting Ukraine financially. Because we have to understand and to realize what is at stake. At stake is the real freedom and democracy. If Putin wins, it means that all these bloody autocrats will take over the world. So he is testing an entire free world. He is testing whether the democracy can prevail. And we have to prove that we will prevail.
And earlier this week, the UK's chief of the MI6 security agency, Richard Moore, said that Russia will run out of steam. He said that this war is Ukraine's to win. Is that an assessment shared by you, by other Ukrainians?
I strongly believe that Ukraine will win this war. I strongly believe that we are on the same page with the free world. I strongly believe that this war of attrition launched by Mr. Putin, in the end, will be win by the Ukrainian people and by the free world. But let me be very clear. I would never underestimate these bloody culprits, I mean Russians. Never. This is a big country with the huge resources. And look, they have a lot of, I would say, close friends who are ready to support them in the Russian fight against democracy. Big countries like, for example, China. So I am not in the position to underestimate, but I am in the position to be very clear, telling your audience that this righteous war is to be won by the Ukrainian people and by the free world.
Can we tell anything about Russia's position by the fact they have come to the negotiation table over this? Is this a shift in any way? Is this a sign that they are perhaps not performing as well as they had hoped to?
Well, initially, Putin believed that he can easily take over an entire Ukraine just in 3 days. He completely failed. Then he failed to undermine the unity in the European Union. Then he failed to undermine the bipartisan support in the United States. So he failed hundreds of times. But if one believes that this is a clear-cut sign that Russia is ready to cut the new peace deal and that Russia is ready to withdraw from the Ukrainian territory, I will never share this take. This is another cynical Russian approach. Let me remind you that in order to sign this so-called grain deal with Ukraine, Russia pressed on the UN to sign a memorandum which allows Russia easily to export Russian food and fertilizers, which were practically partly under the US and EU sanctions. So on the flip side, this is a pork barrel deal for Russia too.
Arsenій Yatseniuk, thank you very much for joining us to give us your sense of the situation. While we have you here, do you have any form of message that you think it would be helpful for our listeners in the UK to hear? Any message for the UK government?
This war, I do understand that you feel the pinch of this war. And this was actually the goal of Putin. To increase energy prices, to have high inflation in the European Union and in the United Kingdom and even in the US, to undermine democratic governments in a number of EU countries, and actually to make a real chaos in the democratic world. We can sustain this. We will manage this. And this is the biggest democracy test for the entire free world. And we will pass this test. And I am very grateful to the British people, to every member of the British Parliament in their strong and unwavering support of our fight for our independence. I am very grateful to the United Kingdom.
Arsenій Yatseniuk, thank you very much for joining us today, former Prime Minister of Ukraine.